Pepin, Paul Gardner, Nassim Navri, and Michael Gonzalez. And if the next person can just get in line so we can just go right through this.
Okay. Hi.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dear council members and staff, my name is Christine Pepin, and I would like to thank you all for updating the city's investment policy and other post-employment trust fund to include a paragraph on social and environmental responsibility. This is an important accomplishment that shows the city's commitment to fighting climate change, supporting the environment, and promoting social justice. I was, however, disappointed to see that the language used in these policies is weaker than the one used in the legislative advocacy position passed on June 28th. At that time, Council unanimously approved to, quote, support legislation to limit or eliminate direct or indirect investment of public funds to support the production or drilling of fossil fuels. The investment policies now state that, quote, investments are discouraged in entities that manufacture tobacco products, firearms, or nuclear weapons, and are direct or indirect investments to support the production of or drilling of fossil fuels. We would like Council to consider amending the paragraph to include stronger terms consistent with the legislative advocacy position. In particular, Council could write that they will not reinvest in the Tennessee Valley Authority once these assets, which represent direct investments in fossil fuels, get to maturity. Council could also clearly state that they prohibit investments with banks funding the Dakota Access Pipeline. These banks are well known. If you wish, we can provide you with a list that includes Citibank, Wells Fargo, HSBC, US Bank, and Union Bank, which is wholly owned by the Bank of Tokyo Mitsubishi UFG, a primary leader of the DAPL loan. Sunnyvale is currently doing business and has assets with all 5 aforementioned banks. Santa Barbara City Council voted on September 19th to proceed toward divesting over $40 million from banks funding the Dakota Access Pipeline, starting with divestment of $6.25 million. Oakland City Council voted unanimously last week to fund the feasibility study for the Public Bank of Oakland, putting that city on track to create its own public bank. A municipal or county-wide public bank would help all 15 cities in Santa Clara County support the interests of their community, save millions in bank fees and money management fees, and enable a sustainable environment. Council could convene a task force to help the city in the creation of a municipal public bank. We hope that Sunnyvale can be one of the first cities in the U.S. to combine fiduciary and social responsibility in its investment and cash management policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Paul Gardner and then Nassim Navri. And if the next person could just stand up and be ready in line. Is Paul here? Paul? Okay. Then Nassim Navri and then Michael Gonzalez.
Thank you, dear council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Nassim Nouri. I'm a county council with the Green Party of Santa Clara County, and I'm actually here to also talk about the investment policies that you will be taking under consideration quickly. I actually am interested on the money side, so I won't talk about the reasons why this is a moral imperative to actually invest in renewables, but I'd like to address the money side of it, which is something you all are concerned about. Actually, I have a short packet of information for you, if I could leave with your clerk, and it actually has a couple of reports on it that are mentioned. One is from the World Economic Forum report. It's a detailed report about renewable investments. And what I also want to talk about is, in the investment world, as you all know, there are a lot of places where they give you a lot of advice. There are organizations and many smart people who are doing market analysis and projections on ROIs. And one of them is Investopedia, and a recent Bloomberg New Energy Finance report has been produced, and they have analyzed it and actually are encouraging green renewable energy investments. The numbers are astounding. By 2030, the renewable energy sources will account for over 60% of the 5,500 gigawatts of new generation capacity. and 65% of the $7.7 trillion in power investment. Renewables are the way to make money. So that's a factor that all investors are concentrating on. The overall fossil fuels, such as coal, natural gas, will see their total share of power generation fall to 46% from the current 64%. The Bloomberg report also shows that the solar and wind will increase their combined share of global generation capacity from 3% to 16%. At a global level, that may not seem like a lot, but here in this country, we actually have the resources and the infrastructure to multiply that number, particularly in California. And if you reduce that to a microcosm of municipalities here, we can't wait till 2030. We actually need to invest now and take actions now. So the conversion of investment from fossil fuels and dirty fuels into creating new energy creation through renewables is critical. The report also have the 1, 2, 3s of renewable investment. First, carbon bubble is bursting. We know that. We've seen that with coal. It is happening with oil. Second is renewables are cheaper. We've also seen that here with solar panels. Also, number 3 is the fact that the
But I'm gonna have to ask you to stop, and you can just go
Okay,
ahead and you can.
thank you
give a
so
copy of
much.
the report.
Please consider the report.
Okay, thank you. And then Michael Gonzalez.
Hi there, I'm Mike Gonzalez with the Green Party of Santa Clara County. So we've been coming to Sunnyvale Council meetings since March, asking for the city to divest from companies involved in fossil fuels. And we're not here to simply obstruct the daily functions of the Sunnyvale staff. We understand that the language used in this particular legislation is meant to be not so strict that you guys will have agility to manage your finances easily. However, it's obvious by the recent history of major storms and severe floodings in the United States and around the world that the climate is changing and the planet is being affected. We believe it's critical that we move quickly and deliberately to curb climate change. So we continue to oversee and address this council about divestment and ask for effective and timely action. But we are willing to work with you. So we can research and provide information on how other cities have divested or any other kinds of research that may be helpful to you. Don't hesitate to let us know. Christine communicates with you guys fairly regularly. And if, like I said, if there's any information we can provide that will move you guys to divest from fossil fuels more effectively and efficiently. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was the last speaker card I had on 1E, so I'm going to stop right there, and Councilmember Goldman.
Since this has been pulled, are we going to we're going to vote on it separately, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we going to have a motion to consider it, or?
That would be, if there are no comments anybody's make, I'm ready for a motion.
Okay. I'm not ready to. I do want to make one comment, and that is that if you look at the direct investment in oil companies, almost all of them are down about 10% over the last 5 years. It's just a bad investment. And the one example is Danish Oil and Natural Gas has changed its name because they have gotten out of oil and natural gas. Shell, the head of CEO of Shell, got electric car. GM is saying they're going to go all electric within by 2030, 100%. So it's oil is just a bad investment. Period. Oil and natural gas, and we should get out of it. It's just fiduciary bad. So I will be want to put that in. Thank you.
Junior, who are you next? Okay, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I'm ready with a motion.
Did you you have a comment first?
Do you mind if I ask a question of staff, Mayor?
Go ahead.
So, for the finance director, Mr. Kirby, I'm just looking at the new paragraph that's been added here about social environmental responsibility. Can you tell me what that means to you, or how that would impact you professionally as you go about the business of your shop and making investments?
Sure. So, excuse me. We expanded this section to cover broader than just environmental. So, environmental concerns are what has been identified by the public. It's, direct investments in fossil fuels, energy, climate change. Social concerns cover things like how companies act with human rights, how they treat their human capital, issues like gender equality, and then there's even governance concerns where we're looking at companies, how their board operates, are they corrupt or are they clean, and that type of thing. What we're coming back to council with soon is we're about to release an RFP for investment management services that will help us manage this more complex environment. I can say that we are planning on, as they mature, divesting from our direct investments like Tennessee Valley Authority. The last one matures in October of next year, so we'll be out of them then, and then we will be moving in this direction going forward. And the language is really designed so that we can be sure that as we do these investments, we're following the policy, we're complying with the policy at all times.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. I move approval of 1E.
Councilmember Mel,
Second.
you want to speak to your motion?
Sure. Thank you to the members of the public who have come down here. Do appreciate you taking the time and sharing the information with us, and also the information that you've given us on the dais. I think the policy as staff has put it together is a good balance, that it expresses the intent, the interest of the council, as we've heard from Mr. Kirby. We are definitely moving in that direction. I think at this time, it's the right balance of language. I think that to have a stricter language in there would require a level of due diligence that's probably difficult, given the lack of standards and information. That I understand there are certain banks you can point to, for example, that have investments that are a real concern, but we would have to look at not only those banks but any other bank and drill into the details. I think that given the complexity of all the types of considerations that we have for our different investments, this language is the best balance. So that's why I'm supporting this. Thank you.
Councilmember Mel.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I'll just chime in quickly to say that I'll be supporting the motion. I wanted to say thanks to our members of the public for pulling this agenda item so we could talk about it. I think we're moving in the right direction, and I support the language. And I wanted to acknowledge the comments from Mr. Kirby, and I agree that the actions that will be taken based on the language will reflect the intent of council, and then I look forward to ongoing dialogue. And I'll be taking a look also forward towards the RFP for our investment management company to see how the needle might be further moved on this topic. So thank you again.
Any other comments? I'll be supporting this motion. I think this is consistent with a lot of the actions that we've taken over the last 12, 18, 24 months in terms of where we look at environmental sustainability and other things and stuff like that. So with that, please vote.
The vote is 7-0. Motion carries.